Well, welcome back into the studio today. Today we're going to be working on our 12 in 12 430. And as you may or may not already know, this is where I do a layout a month, and it's a timed layout. So for 30 minutes, I'm giving myself a total of 30 minutes, not including dry time. So the only thing I know today is that I want to finally get an opportunity to play with this paper. This was a little art snack that I found for myself. It was wrapped around a rotor. My brother-in-law was changing my brakes in my car, and this was wrapped around the rotor. It's a Knox Rust Vapor Wrapper. So I want to play with this gorgeous orange paper. I love the rusty orange color of it, and it's really thick. So I want to play with that. I have already gone into my Delusions and square this. I think this is the 8x8, and taped off some stuff. Just put the extra tape. I got a little carried away with tape on the sides. You know, can never have too much texture. And let's see, we need timer for 30 minutes. I already have it set. All right, so that's where I'm gonna start. That's all I know so far.
It's hard. Find something to do to keep yourself out of that. When the world gets mad, what you gonna do? You're not young anymore. It's honestly true.
And now that I have that background all dried, I am going to come in with a General's charcoal pencil and just do some sketchy marks all over, well, wherever I feel led to. And that is going to be my first step after the decoupage goes down. And now I am going to water down some white gesso and get that laid in the background, just more like a wash more than anything. And really with this gesso wash, initially I went in with that rubber spatula and I just felt really confined by that. So I just went ahead and dripped the rest of it onto the page and moved it around using my fingers. And that gave me, it was just a little bit more freer. And now that that is dry, I'm going to go in with some additional texture in this paper paste. Now this is fun stuff. It definitely takes a little bit longer than most texture mediums to dry. I think it's because it's more compact, but it is it gives a very different kind of a soft, subtle texture. And so I'm using this palette knife. As you may or may not know, I prefer to use plastic palette knives for all my mediums and my metal palette knives for paint. And so I am going in with a plastic palette knife and getting a majority of it towards the bottom of this layout. But I do come back in, you'll see here in a minute, I do go around the top and really scrape it down I lay it down and scrape it off, and to get a subtle texture at the top.
Why it pains you so, and it won't stop for a while. Just hang in there, it's worthwhile. Don't let it get to you.
So now I've turned my layout upside down, and I am going to come in with some King's Blue acrylic ink and my water spritzer and get that to move around and kind of flow into all the texture pieces.
It's honestly true.
I really had no clue where I was going with this, but I really felt like orange was the way to go. So I pulled out some vermilion hue and went in with my fingers. And here on this close-up, you can really see how I'm catching some of that texture on the edges, and it's actually making that orange paper in the back kind of go dark. I don't know, there was something about it against the blue that I really liked. So I went with it and finger painted that down and got that dry. And then I came in with this Faber-Castell pencil. This is a Magmus. It is a water-soluble pencil, but it's not very creamy. It's actually kind of more dry than what I'm used to, like a Stabilo All. And I do a little bit of line work with my right hand, and then I switch over to my left hand. And really, this was inspired by some of that initial charcoal work I had done in the background. And when I went to spray this with water, I was surprised at it didn't move very much. So I did come back in with a Stabilo All, which I knew would move more. And so I just went right on top of those other marks, right on top of the water, let it bleed. I loved how that appeared. And gave it a good spray and then got that dry. Now, what isn't so apparent is how much pressure I had to put on that Faber-Castell pencil. And here you can really see the pressure I put down on it actually scratched through the orange paint below, which was quite interesting. And so my next step was, I thought, well, I'm going to come in and bring in some more of a vibrant orange. And this is Azog Orange in an acrylic ink. And I really just used the dropper as my brush and just kind of affirmed some of those marks. At this point, it was starting to appear more floral-like to me. And so I was just thinking about adding some of the highlights to that. And so that was what I did with the acrylic ink.
You're not young anymore. It's honestly true.
Well, if you've been around and watched me before, you probably know what's happening here. I am going in with some of my white gesso and pushing areas back. I'm not really doing any dry brushing at this point. I am mostly softening the edges of that orange and pushing some of the blue areas back to white, getting some of my contrast happening. And if I happen to catch some of the texture along the way, then, you know, that's the bonus plan, right? So now I have noticed that my time is quickly running out. So I pulled out my words bucket and I'm looking for a word or a phrase or a quote that will work on this page. And I found this. This is actually packaging from Maramy Small Art product, and so I'm gonna use that. She has these wonderful sayings or quotes in the back, and I'm gonna use that. And I did put a link down below to her website so you can see her products. So I'm going to make my focal point now, which is the words that I'm going to use, and I pull out that same paper. I am going to add a little bit of that azul orange to it and layer this up and call it done.
It's not worth it anymore. You can't convince them or change their minds. It's hard to be kind. You're accused out of thin air. Some people, you know them, and they won't know you. Friends can easily become a foe. Blood sometimes just won't let you go. When the wind blows and it rains, and you don't know why it pains you so, and it won't stop for a while. Just hang in there, it's worthwhile.
I hope that you have enjoyed this month's installment of the 12 in 12 for 30. As always, down below I do have the supplies used in the description box. There are links there. Links listed are to my Etsy store or an affiliate link. I only link to products that I've used, tested, or I prefer to use. I may receive a small compensation, but there is never any additional cost to you. Using the links really helps me to put supplies on my art table and keep my channel content coming to you. And if you've enjoyed this video, please take the opportunity to give it a thumbs up. And if you like what you've seen and you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing.